Sun and Fun. My name is Lori Bradner. I'm with the Florida Aviation Network. We are here today in glorious Lakeland, Florida, celebrating the 42nd annual Sun and Fun as we celebrate and honor all of the United States Armed Forces. Today I am honored to spend some time with our wonderful guest. I'd like to introduce to you Dr. William T. Busch. Dr. Busch, thank you for taking the time to be here. Now, Dr. Busch, we just had a young lady that was a Stratus winner that, very interestingly, her father does physicals for those that are interested in flying, all of the flight physicals, and she was interested in medicine. You are a member of the AVDOC 51, and I was wondering if you could tell, we're streaming live, we're taping, tell people a little bit about what is AVDOC 51, what does it do? Give us a clue here.
AVDOC 51 is basically a medical clinic that specializes in aviation medicine.
Okay.
And I'm the physician.
You're it.
I'm the physician.
You're the physician.
And it's at the airport at Kissimmee Gateway.
Okay.
And it's within the Stallion 51 complex where we have exotic warbirds that include P-51s and T-6s and stuff like that.
KT was here earlier.
KT was here earlier.
We had KT.
Lee Lauderback may have been here earlier.
Yeah, actually he didn't. I think he was getting ready to fly. I think he's flying Crazy Horse for the Twilight Show.
Right. I have a medical clinic within the confines of Stallion 51.
Okay.
And we service all the aviators in the area and basically in the world too. We got them coming from all over.
Wow.
Because of the flight schools and then the airline pilots and then our clients that come in to exercise the P-51s. So.
Okay. When did this start?
About 10 years ago.
Okay. You started the original clinic?
I did.
Okay.
I did it with my friend Lee Lauderback.
Okay.
We hatched this after thinking about it because I was still on active duty with the U.S. Navy. And we've known each other for pushing 30 years. Him and I have been associated with each other, and we talked and hatched it out about 10 years ago.
Okay. And obviously when you fly for safety purposes, the medical part of it is extraordinarily important.
Absolutely. Plus the other thing that we offer is, you know, I give ground school and training in spatial disorientation, aviation physiology.
Really?
We talk about G-induced loss of consciousness. I mean, basically any aviation-related human factors or aviation physiology subject you can come up with.
Amazing.
We can teach that. I mean, we don't do that on a daily basis, but we do bring in sometimes classes, especially classes of maybe corporate level aviators that are going through our unusual attitude training program.
Right.
So
that's awesome. Now let me ask you, first of all, Dr. Busch, I want to say thank you for your service. We're honoring this year at the 42nd Annual Sun and Fun, we're honoring all the past, present, and future of our United States military, all those that have been in, and I thank you for your service. One thing I'm always interested in, only because I'm nosy, Dr. Busch, there's always a spark that ignites passion in aviation and what you do. Would you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you get into this?
Well, it's kind of interesting, and it's a little bit happenstance, and it's a little bit kind of being in the right place with the right frame of mind at the time. But I was an average college student in the Midwest. And
where did you grow up?
Illinois.
I love it. Okay.
Illinois. And I was in the farm country, and I went to college, and I played sports, and I was an average student. And along around my senior year, I decided I needed to do something challenging in the world. So I approached the military services.
Okay.
And when I approached the Navy, I read through their various job descriptions, and I was looking. Well, the big pictures, I'll make it quick. They gave me an aptitude test, and I qualified for aviation.
Really?
And so the Navy took me in, and I went to officer candidate school, and I went to flight school to become a naval aviator.
Okay.
And I had never really thought about aviation or even been in an airplane before.
Excuse me.
So basically, the first airplane I was in Navy flight school.
That is amazing. Okay.
It was amazing. So
now, how did that translate? Now I'm interested because you are a medical doctor. What happened? There's a story here too, I'm sure.
Right. I did the standard naval aviator thing and got my wings and flew off the aircraft carrier Forrestal for a few years. And I found out about this Navy program where you could apply, and if you were accepted, they would send you to medical school sponsored.
Okay.
Pay for your way. So I applied, and I was accepted. So then the Navy sent me to medical school.
Amazing.
And that took about 4 years or 5.
Right. Right.
And then I came back.
Okay.
And requalified as a pilot.
Okay.
And became a flight surgeon.
Wow.
So now I was an aviator flight surgeon in the Navy.
What is that? And I apologize for my ignorance, Dr. Busch. What does that entail?
Well, it means you're a current naval aviator and a flight surgeon. Flight
Okay.
surgeon meaning an aviation medicine doctor for the pilots and air crews. But I also flew as a pilot of naval aircraft.
Okay.
There wasn't many picked in the decade that I started that of the 1980s. There was only 3 guys selected for that, and there's
You
only
were one of the 3.
right. And there's only been about the program started just after World War I, and
Okay.
there's been about 60 some guys total.
Wow. Why? I'm just interested. Why so few? Is it the stringency of it? Is it?
Well, you know, a lot of it is sine wave cycling of funding.
Okay.
Funding and timing and enthusiasm, and you know, it's a very peculiar area, but the military does have small subsets of certain specialties. The Air Force has a similar program.
Okay.
It's just that it's not high numbers.
Okay. Okay.
So.
Then after you retired from the Navy.
No, after that, I did that. You got to keep on the move when you're in the military.
Okay.
So after I did that for 4 years more, then I went to Bethesda, Maryland at the National Naval Medical Center and trained in ophthalmology, which is microsurgery of the eye.
Yes.
So I did that.
Okay.
And then by that time, I was starting to have a lot of rank, so I was starting to be in charge of stuff. So I was the chairman of ophthalmology at a naval hospital, and then I was the head of Navy Aerospace Ophthalmology at down in Pensacola at the Aerospace Medicine Institute.
That's amazing.
And the whole time I kept in the cockpit, so I kept.
You did? Okay,
Yeah,
I was going to ask if during that time, how did they allow you to fly? Was it on your personal time, or what?
No,
How did that
well,
work?
no, it was part of the job, but there was dry periods. I mean, I didn't hardly fly at all in medical school.
Right.
I mean, that's like 3 full-time jobs at
You
the same
can't.
time. So
Right.
it came and went. But anyway, so after so on and so forth, I mean, I like to say that I joined the Navy to have an adventure for 3 years, and it took me almost 30 to get out.
I love it. And then how did you said you met Lee Lauterbach, so he was good friends.
I met him sometime in the late 80s when he was using Crazy Horse, the P-51, to fly and teach the Navy test pilot candidates up at Pax River.
Okay.
And I was the senior flight surgeon at Cecil Field in Jacksonville at the time.
Okay.
And so we kind of got together, and you know, we did a few things together.
And then that launched and hatched the AVDOC 51 that is now located in Kissimmee.
Yeah. Well, I met him in the 80s, but we talked about doing something for a long time, all through the rest of my career, and then we finally did it when I retired.
Now, I must ask you, because of the other guests that we have had on and that I've had a chance to talk to, with your busy schedule as a medical doctor, doing all the flights, doing all the flight physicals, do you still get to fly?
Well, I have not flown that much recently, but I was trying quite a bit to fly. I tried to fly once a week.
You do?
Yes.
And I'm interested, what is your favorite? I know they've got the Texan. We heard about the Texans. They obviously have the Mustangs.
I'm not a frontline pilot I don't do the flights for Stallion 51.
Okay.
I mean, I just fly my own aircraft as a hobby.
You do, and what aircraft do you have?
Well, I mean, I
Dr.
like
Busch?
the Warbirds. I don't have it anymore, but my last aircraft was a Grumman Wildcat.
I love it.
It was a nice airplane.
They're beautiful. I have a friend of mine that has a Grumman. They're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful to fly.
This was a Wildcat.
It was a Wildcat, okay.
World War II fighter.
Really?
Yeah, it was a great aircraft.
Amazing. Now, let me ask you, one of the things that we do here, obviously the mission is for young people. And can you talk a little bit for those that are interested, especially like we've got students here at the Central Florida Aerospace Academy, some of the requirements, especially we know that there's requirements for students like myself that want to do a private license. What is the difference between those that just want to do it for leisure and for enjoyment as opposed to the stringency for medical for the military?
Well, first of all, you have the FAA, which is the civil part of aviation, and they basically have the flight physicals, the physical qualifications divided into 3 classes.
Okay.
Class 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
They don't have much to do with the aircraft type. It all depends on what you're going to do with your flying.
Okay.
A Class 3 is for pilots that are not going to be paid to fly.
Okay.
They fly their own airplane or it's a hobby.
Okay, the hobbyist.
The Class 2 is for pilots that are going to fly for hire.
Okay.
Corporate level pilots, commercial level pilots.
Okay.
And then Class 1 is for the airline transport pilots that are flying for the big airlines.
Okay.
Now there's some overlap, and certain employers of these pilots may require a different level, but the FAA, that's their requirements.
Okay.
Now that's the FAA stuff. The military has their own set of requirements, physical requirements, and those are sort of similar between the services, but there is differences, Army, Navy, Air Force. And remember when I say that, the Coast Guard and Marines come under the Navy, so those are the same standards.
Right.
And, I mean, do you have any specific questions? I mean, the military standards are generally higher than the FAA standards because the military doesn't deal with the general population.
Okay.
They only deal with young, select people. So you can fly civilian and have a waiver or have a medical with a lot more medical conditions, whereas you can't really have any medical conditions for the military.
Including sight.
Sight.
2020.
Well, sight has been relaxed.
It has.
Well, over the past 20 years.
Because I know when Lee Lauterbach went in, that was the 2020.
When all of us went in, myself, John Leanhouse, when Lee was applying and all that. Basically, in those days, you had to have 20/20 vision by the military standards. Now that really translated to some form of 2015 vision, because they would give you this hard 20/20 level test and you couldn't miss any.
Wow.
And then as it evolved, military aviation got more and more away from see the enemy, fight the enemy.
Right.
It's now more electronic, and the guys they needed other milestones to grade these aviators, because it takes a smarter sort of guy. I don't want to insult our guys my age or the World War II guys,
Not at all.
but the young kids that are coming in the military now, they're operating these complex systems in these aircraft.
Yeah.
And they got to be kind of smart and quick thinking.
Right.
More so than my generation, I guess.
Well, it's the technology aspect.
It's all about the technology.
And that's something that's interesting that you bring up. Go ahead.
But because of the technology, to broaden the parameters to accept more qualified individuals, they've lowered the I standards.
Really?
In fact, I was kind of integral in the Navy's I standard changes around the year 2000.
In what way?
Well, we just looked at the I standards and tried to figure out which ones are really required in today's combat environment, as opposed to 1975, 1955, or 1945.
Because of the technology?
Right. I mean, let's face it, in World War II or earlier, whoever saw the other guy first had the advantage. Well, now you don't need to see the other guy. You've got radar, you're under control, and all those sorts of stuff. You've
got everything there. Now, let me ask you a question. What would you say, you know, we had a young lady here that was one of the Stratus winners, Kylie, a lovely young lady, is interested both in medicine, obviously aviation. If someone had a path, or one of our students or a young person wanted to go into both or couple both, do you have any advice? What would you tell them based on your experience? What would you tell them to do? How would you tell them to traverse the waters?
Okay, well, it depends on which way they want to go.
Okay.
Do they want to be a civilian and fly as a hobby, or they want to be a professional pilot?
She was interested, I believe, in the military and going in the military, but also because of her father was inspired. And she just comes to mind. I just spoke to her today because of her father as a medical doctor. She wanted to couple both.
Well, I'll comment on the first one. If she wants to own a nice airplane, she should go get a medical specialty that pays well and buy one.
Okay.
Okay, but that's easy.
Right, right.
To do it the military way, to get the military aviation experience and then the medical experience, in my personal opinion, I would recommend doing the aviation thing first.
Okay.
Here's the reason.
Yes.
If you're going to be an aviator in the military, you have a fairly narrow age window. Other than the Army, the other services all require you have a college degree.
Okay.
But then they also require certain things, like you can't start flight school after the age of 27. And that also includes an extended application and interview process. So that window is kind of narrow. But basically, you can go to medical school anytime you want.
Right.
I didn't start till I was 29, and I was far from the oldest guy there.
Really?
Okay, so you can go into medicine when you're 30, but you can't go into military aviation when you're 30 as a pilot.
So she needs. So that's a piece of advice.
If you've got to
think
do
about that.
And remember now, it's going to be tough because she may like the aviation so much she may not want to do the medicine.
Right.
It's a risk.
Okay. Now, obviously the Navy, the program that you mentioned, and one of the things here with the, certainly with the Aerospace Center of Excellence and Sun and Fun, we just had lights on, was talking about the scholarships, not only for colleges, et cetera. Military still offers those scholarships once you get in, if you go in the aviation. Those scholarships that you were granted to go into medicine, those are still.
Yes, now, I mean, I have to tell you, if you ask me how to give a refractive, manifest refraction for eyeglasses, I might be considered an expert at that. So I'm disavowing my expertise on this subject.
Okay.
But I do believe, and I'm pretty confident, that the military, all the services pretty much offer scholarships to undergraduate college in the form of ROTC.
Right.
And I'm certain that they all offer medical school scholarships, which is called the HPSP, or the Health Professions Scholarship Program.
Really? Okay.
And then the military has its own medical school up in Bethesda, Maryland, called the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences.
Really? Okay.
So the fact is, there's lots of opportunities out there for qualified people.
For the best of the best.
Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you, one of the things, you're here at Sun and Fun right now. Are you with the booth, with the Stallion 51 booth, or what are you doing while you're here at Sun and Fun?
Well, I'm giving an interview to you.
Wait, there you go, and I'm glad you did.
I had a radio interview, and I gave an hour of aeromedical lecture in the educational thing, and then I'm hanging out at the Stallion 51 booth, of course.
Okay, so if anyone had any questions, anything like that, even about their medical, anything like that, they could come and see you at the Stallion 51?
Absolutely. In fact, you may sense a little bit of hoarseness. I've been talking
all day
nonstop since I got here.
That is awesome. Now talk to me a little bit about, you were at the Central Florida Aerospace Academy. You went ahead and you did a talk there.
I did.
What was the gist for someone that maybe couldn't get there, that they weren't able to be there? What was the central part of your talk? What were you discussing?
That's an outstanding question, because I had, let's say, mature aviators at my talk.
Okay.
But mature aviators got to be mature aviators by kind of having things figured out. It would have been better to talk to younger aviators.
Right, okay.
So I tried to carry a message. First of all, I did a little admin and talked about the Med Express and some other stuff, and a little bit of history. You know, aviation's about 100 years old, from powered flight as we know it.
Right.
But what I really wanted to spend time on was alcohol and drugs. Talked a lot, that was my lecture.
That's the message.
And that is a strong message, because the point is, the military and the FAA, if you're having a problem with alcohol or drugs, especially if it's in the legal arena, like motor vehicle actions, DUIs, that sort of stuff, that's not good. That's really bad for the aviator. It can preclude you from being a successful career aviator.
Right.
It can preclude you from getting in the military. It can preclude you from continuing your career if you have a problem. And, you know, I have a subspecialty that I do called the HIMSS program.
What is that?
That's another qualification that a senior AME can get.
Okay.
It's dealing with airline pilots, just pilots in general that have an alcohol or a drug problem.
Okay, what is the acronym? We love acronyms in aviation.
Human Intervention and Motivation Study.
Wow, okay.
I don't know why they named it that, but that was like 30 years ago, and it was designed by the airlines to save the careers of their pilots that had acquired a diagnosis of alcoholism or alcohol dependence. And that was started by the airlines, because let's face it, if you have an airline pilot that's 50 years old and has 20,000 hours, you can't create a new one of those guys anytime soon.
No.
It takes 20, 25 years.
Right.
So some of these guys were getting into trouble with alcohol, and so the airlines came up with this, and it has evolved, and the FAA took upon it. So now it's mostly an FAA program.
Okay, were you one of the founders, or did you just get involved?
No, not that old.
No, okay.
So,
but
no, I mean, I'm just a guy that does it here in Florida.
Okay.
And there's about a half a dozen of us.
So it's still an active organization then?
Oh yeah, it's flourishing. It's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Where it started out just for airline pilots, now it's translated to all pilots.
Wow.
And it's translated to anybody that wants to be a pilot.
Okay.
So if you, all of a sudden, if you're a young person and you go to school and you're doing good and everything's happy, and all of a sudden you're 29 years old and you want to become a pilot for professional reasons or hobby reasons.
Right.
If you've got a history of alcohol-related incidents, the most common being DUI, then you will have some explaining to do.
Okay.
And you may even have some evaluations to go through. And you may even have some treatment to go through.
Okay.
So it's kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
So the point is, the take-home message is, if you drink alcohol, do it responsibly, do it moderately, and do it in a safe spot.
Right.
And then the other take-home message was, if a drug is illegal, it's illegal, and you should not use or even come close to those in aviation.
No matter what.
And then the third message was, a doctor who treats himself has a fool for a patient. In other words, if you have a self-diagnosed illness and you're a pilot and you're playing doctor by diagnosing yourself, and then you're going to go get some over-the-counter medicine, you're playing doctor and you're treating yourself.
Right.
So you need to watch those real carefully when you're taking over-the-counter medicines for treating something that you've diagnosed and you're a pilot, because they can interact with your other medications, they can give you side effects, or they can wear off while you're flying, and all of a sudden whatever condition you had came back. And I can think of some messy ones, okay?
Yeah, yes, we can. And you know what, it's so important. I thank you, Dr. Busch, because as an educator, that's what I do on a daily basis. Unfortunately, that is a message, especially even at the middle school and the high school level. It is imperative to get to the students about drugs and alcohol and the
Those
use.
things follow you.
And not using
Right.
it. And you know what, unfortunately, like you said, the audience you had today, mature audience, they got there. The young people today, they don't understand the impact that what may seem like a little thing will have as they go into the future. Now, let me ask you a question. You spoke here. What is your next step? Do you do talks? Are there groups do you go speak to groups? Do you speak to other organizations that you're asked? Or talk to me a little bit about that.
The answer is, if I'm requested to do that, I do it.
Okay.
And I do it within the confines of our company.
Okay.
I do that regularly.
Okay.
And I've done it many times, but I mean, that's just come as the requests
Okay.
come in.
Do you go with the same message, or is it
No.
basically per their request?
It's tailored for whatever they're interested in. I mean, I've
Okay.
got many lectures, and I mean, I wasn't born with any knowledge, but I've acquired quite a bit in my life, so I spread that out when I can. So I've given presentations in front of airshow pilots,
Okay.
warbird operators, for the Warbird Operators Conference, that sort of stuff.
That's awesome.
And well, each message is a little different. I mean, I wasn't sure who my audience was going to be when I gave it here. I was hoping there would be a lot of the high school students there. But
They
like I said,
needed to be there.
the mature guys they'd already passed those milestones and got there.
That got there. Well, I tell you what, it's awesome to have you here, Dr. Busch. And once again, if anyone has any questions, or even our young people, if they have any questions, anything, you will be at, and I believe Stallion 51 is right your center on the Warbird ramp. There they can't miss, because I know that the Mustangs are there. You've got Texans there with you today, so they can actually come see you. There's a bus there. Am I correct?
Absolutely, but here's something even more important, because
Okay.
we've only got 2 more days here.
Yes, yes.
Stallion51.com, and then you go to the AVDOC tab, and then that'll be all about the medical clinic and what we offer.
Fabulous.
And it's points of contact, phone numbers, office hours, emails, that sort of stuff.
Fantastic. So they can read, it's www.stallion51.com.
Yeah, and then go to AVDOC 51.
Go into AVDOC 51, and that's on the website. Dr. Busch, you will be here tomorrow as well on campus.
I plan
so
to
that
be.
you plan to be. That is fantastic. And I cannot thank you enough. Thank you again for your service.
My pleasure.
And for being here, and as a mom and an educator. Thank you for your willingness to give the message that you give about alcohol and drugs, and I appreciate it more than you know. Thank you for that. So I tell you what, we thank you so much. We just spoke with Dr. Busch with AVDOC 51. Please come see him. Please go to the website, avdoc.thestallion51.com. My name is Lori Bradner. I'm with the Florida Aviation Network as we're celebrating 42 years of Sun and Fun, and we're celebrating all of the U.S. Armed Forces. Please don't miss it. Come join us at Sun and Fun right here in Lakeland, Florida. We look forward to seeing you there.